This is an isopod, also known as a pillbug or a roly-poly, which I personally call them. You probably have fond childhood memories of playing with these little guys as kids, like I do. You'd pick them up and they'd roll into a ball in your hand, and it was the coolest thing ever. And then your mom would yell at you if you tried to bring them in the house. So I did what we all wanted to do, and that's to keep these guys as pets. And just like any responsible new pet owner, I went on Google to do some research. While researching which roly-poly I wanted to keep, I was actually shocked at how expensive some of them can get, but not surprised. Like this isopod called Cuboris rubber ducky is $120 just for 5. But it also sort of makes sense because it literally looks like a rubber duck, which is pretty cute. And then there's also an isopod called Cuban Spiky, which is a whopping $425 just for 5. And isopod keepers recommend you start with a colony of 10. That's an insane amount of money. But to be fair, just by looking at him, I can tell why the price is so high. It has spikes built into its shell and the color is really cool too. But as much as I did want these guys, I wasn't willing to shell out a couple $100 on some animals I didn't know much about caring for. So I did the smart thing and went with Armadillium vulgare. These are the roly-polies that most people think about when you mention their name. A vulgare are the best beginner isopods because they are extremely hardy, more tolerant of mistakes, and their population grows pretty quickly. But I didn't want just any normal roly-poly that I can get from my backyard, just because, well, yeah, no hate, but they're just not that cool looking. So I went with these guys, Magic Potion isopods. They have this really cool translucent shell with yellow streaks and black spots. And plus, they were way cheaper, so it was an obvious choice for me. And while waiting for them to ship, I researched how to set up their habitat, got all the materials, and got started. First, I got some leaf litter, which is their main source of food. This random stick I stole from my neighbor. Then we got some cork bark, which serves as a place for the isopods to hide in. Some cuttle bone for calcium for their shells, some leftover leaves and cones, and then some moss to hold water and keep the humidity up. First, I made sure to rinse the tank in preparation for the substrate. The substrate I'm using is called ABG Mix. It's a mixture of charcoal, sphagnum moss, pine bark, tree fern, and peat. This is widely used for isopods because it retains moisture and drains well, which is important because isopods require a certain amount of humidity in their enclosure, or else they can dry up and die. Next, we're going to cut ventilation holes. These will help bring in fresh oxygen and remove excess carbon dioxide, as well as control moisture so the habitat isn't excessively wet, as well as help to manage mold growth. I decided on 3 ventilation holes, 1 on the lid, 2 on the tub, with all 3 being on the same side. I tried to make them all 2x2, but you'll see how that works out. The lid went fine except for my terrible cutting skills. And now it was time for the sides. I wanted all the holes to be on the same side since this is where the dry substrate is gonna be. I thought all was going well until... Yep, the tub cracked all the way to the bottom and made a giant hole. I've never cut a tub before, so I didn't know this could happen, but now I know. Or do I? Just watch after I try to finish the hole after what just happened. Luckily, I switched to snips, which is way better for cutting this. Then I had this bright idea of using the hole I just cut out to fix the hole I just made. And then I fixed the giant crack with some glue as well. And then it was time for the other side. And of course, I don't learn. Luckily, I was only cutting horizontally, so it was only at the top of the tub, but I'm so dumb for making the same mistake twice. And then I switched to snips, which I should have done in the first place. Then I used some screen door mesh to stop any pests from getting in. Next, we're adding moss to one side of the habitat. Isopods need a moisture gradient in their habitat, which basically means they need a wet side and a dry side. And sphagnum moss is perfect for this since it can hold up to 20 times its weight in water. This means less misting and less chance of water accumulating for mold growth. Next, I added this cuttlebone. It's made of calcium, which is very important for isopods since they use it for their shell. I just broke it up and spread it around so they could forage for it. Now it's time for the hardscape. This first piece of cork bark, I was planning on using it as their main home. It had like a curved undersection where they could hide, which I thought was really cool. And I placed it in like the transition area from the wet side to the dry side. This bigger cork bark wasn't really hollow on the bottom, so it was more of a climbing and decoration piece. This last piece was a bit hollow, but still not enough for them to hide under, so I put it on the wet side where gaps would form between the moss and the bark. And then using the large piece of bark, I leaned the middle one on top of it to create even more room for the isopods to hide. I was kind of going for a buried fallen tree look. If you could kind of imagine all three pieces of bark being connected and that middle section kind of being buried by the dirt over time, I think it looks really cool. And then I used this wood to make it look like branches were coming out of the fallen tree, which I thought came out pretty well. It also serves as something the isopods can climb to. Next, I added the Indian almond leaves, and then a few casuarina cones. Then I added a few of the magnolia leaves, and also broke up some of the leaves to make it look more natural. And then I gave the wet side one more misting. Remember how I kept mentioning humidity and mold? And how too high humidity can cause mold? Well, this is another way to fight it. These tiny animals are called springtails. Their main job in this tank is to eat harmful mold. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Isopod unboxing. I actually got these from a trustworthy seller from Reddit. He has pretty good prices, so if you're looking to get your own, I recommend sending him a quick message and seeing if he has what you want. I'll leave his username on the screen now. All of them arrived safely and alive, and he also added 3 more, so shout out to Eddie. Look at these 3 poking their antenna out of the hole, and those other 2 are already ready to move in. The colors on these guys are really cool, and I'm glad I picked these guys up. I just wanted to record a quick close-up, but I didn't want to stress them out anymore, so I quickly moved them to their new habitat.
Hello there.
And I think it's safe to say they like it. And after a few days of letting the roly-polies settle in, it was time to feed them something important: protein. First, I rehydrated the wet side, and then I created a little viewing area near what I think is their hiding place, and dropped the little shrimp in there. Most people think roly-polies only eat decaying matter like leaves or rotting wood, but they're also actually opportunistic scavengers, meaning they can and will eat dead animals. Protein is important for growth in the babies, for the females to develop eggs, to increase the success of molting, and general long-term colony health. This guy is in what appears to be a food coma, so he's taking a rest. And now he's back to eating. This is the progress after day 1. This is day 2 where they moved it into their hiding place. And this is day 3 where there's basically nothing left. I wanted to take it out to avoid any mold. And then after waiting a few more days, I fed them half a carrot. Either I got lucky with the camera footage, or this is way more popular than the shrimp. This is after day 1. This is after day 2. And this is after day 3 when I decided to take it out to avoid any mold. If you made it to the end, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video and liked watching me set up my roly-poly habitat. This is actually my first land tank, so I'm excited for what's to come. If you did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss a new video. And I'll probably make an update video in a couple months. Hope to see you there. Peace.